Max, thank you for joining me in my product pod. It was a
Hey Adam,
fantastic
yeah.
presentation that you just gave. Really exciting. Um, can you start by telling me like what it is that you actually do? Like, what is your product right now?
Amazing question. I like to speak a lot about my product, but let me to frame it. The product is a creative optimization solution, right? So we released it around 2 years ago. Hundreds of advertisers are using it, and it's mainly about how we can help advertisers win creative again in the vision, right? So all of us know that creative is a challenge, producing new winning creatives is a challenge. We know from numbers that eventually about 10% of the creatives driving 90% of the spend. It is
And
a
this used
challenge.
it used to be like more of a, I guess, more of a sort of corporate company problem because they were the only ones that had the huge teams of designers that could generate the amount of creatives that they needed. But now that's becoming more commonplace, right? Because of Gen AI and everything else, it's becoming way more almost like the bottleneck has moved between the creation and the measurement.
For sure, first of all, I think today there is no single creative team that is not using AI. Like, I think it's commodity in that sense. Technology may be still evolving, but everybody uses AI. And again, we see production times shrinking from, I don't know, weeks to days, right?
Yeah.
Um, the number of creatives, the creative output is much larger. And eventually we are going to a world where production is not the bottleneck anymore, and that brings a new challenge where you need some kind of data, some kind of automation that uses the data to guideline this process.
Mm. So what? Okay, so we've had the existing platform there for a while. What did you announce today?
So the optimization platform that we released before actually covers kind of three out of four parts. So it automatically collects all of the data. It automatically measures all of your creatives without any manual work, no naming convention. Everything is done with AI basically, and integrations with the networks. And then it creates new data out of the creative. So it analyzes elements, analyzes scenes, analyzes messagings, whatever it is, and actually breaks down the creative right from the creative ID to pieces of new information that you can leverage to get insights and optimize the existing portfolio of creatives, or how to iterate and produce new creatives in the next batch. So all of that was kind of three parts of this. We call it the creative flywheel, basically. The missing part was the management, the automation part, where you actually can easily sync all of your creatives automatically that the creative team produces. They are already analyzed together with the running creatives. Our AI matches a new creative, tries to understand if it's already running somewhere or it has a version that is running somewhere. So
So
everything again.
it can actually see live what's being run where, and then be able to determine what's working and what isn't effectively.
Exactly, exactly. So every new creative basically is matched with all that is running. It has a pre-flight scoring based on our models that we built that try to score the creative whether it's a good contender for a specific use case, or it's not one. By the way, if it's not a good one, it gives insights on how to improve it. So again, a use case here
The
would
the,
be,
the actual creative,
yeah,
it'll give tips on what you
yeah,
could do to improve that
exactly,
creative. And
exactly.
is that like overall with the creative, or different elements within the creative, or?
Again, any granularity that our model sees as again an opportunity to improve it. Again, the use case here, like think about again, as I said, hundreds of creatives synced. Now you can distribute all of them. You want to prioritize them, so it will highlight these are the top contenders for this specific use case. Just deploy them, and on this batch, here are the improvements you should do. As we recommend before you even deploy them, there are minor things that you can improve.
Amazing. So, sorry, just to completely understand that. So, it will break down different creatives, and it will show the different elements within those creatives, and then it will start to look at what elements are performing well in different campaigns. So then at the very end, it can say, when you upload the last batch of create, or the latest batch of creatives, it can say, hang on a moment, if you changed this to a dragon instead of a princess, we think it would perform better.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow. Okay, that's really quite something.
And by the
And
way, it's on different levels. So it's just element again, as you said, this is a great example, but it's much deeper. It can say how to tweak the visualization to make it more engaging, more dynamic. It can say, hey, like the sentiment of your hook or your hook mechanic is kind of old and boring, or like was fatigued basically, and there are new hook ideas that you should use. So again, it can go like in a very deep directions.
it also keeps up to date with the different trends that are going on in the market, and wow, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of the management element that you've released now, what does that give? What does that give me as a user acquisition manager?
So part of it I covered, so I maybe frame it from the beginning. So first one, your seamless sync with your storage, with your digital asset management tool. It can be Google Drive, it can be Dropbox, or any other vendor basically. So now all of your creatives are synced into the same platform. Again, getting the same features, organized, analyzed, pre-flight scored, and eventually the upload is automated to the networks that you set up. So again, the Metas, the Googles, and all the other networks. So you can.
Let's dive. I'd like to dive into the pre-flight score, because that sounds very useful. Very, very useful. In terms of how that score is calculated, and I mean, don't go into too much detail, but it's presumably it's a calculation across lots of different elements surrounding that creative. But just how much do you bring into that?
So I think there are different levels to it. Again, so basically it tries to understand where is the correlation. And again, I want to remind you, um, we call it the creative data. So again, the model, the flywheel that I mentioned, right? So the measure, analyze, optimize, automate, it should be powered by data. So what we are doing behind the scenes, we're actually breaking down the creatives to the meaningful pieces of data that we see fit, that we see relevant for the model. And again, as I said, it can be an element, the Dragon Princess example that you said. It can be the type of the hook, the mechanic of the hook, the voiceover, female, whatever it is. It chooses basically and models what's key to success, or on the opposite, what we see a great correlation of a failure, something that is not working. And by that, it calculates a score and gives the insights of why it's a great creative, or how you need to improve it.
Okay. And in terms of, like, have you had somebody who's been using this as a beta client or something like that? And what have they seen? Like, what is it produced for them? Have you seen any exciting results for this so far?
Yeah, for sure. So I will split it into two main kind of use cases. So again, first one, clients that has really enormous numbers of creatives produced. So it gives them focus, direction, prioritization. Even that by itself is already a value, because eventually the testing budgets or the testing scale, limits like how many creatives you can upload to the networks. That's the first use case. Second one is actually the insights, right? So again, like when you want to fine tune your creative better, when the creative team is still in the loop, so the insights are super meaningful, right? So again, you can have a creative that is another generic version with the CTA button with another color. It doesn't mean that that will bring the change. Our insights can say, hey, it's not about the CTA button color, it's about actually the look and feel of your creative. Like, here are a couple of tweaks that can make it much more engaging. And by the way, I didn't even say that the use case is also like relevant, like what you try to optimize, right? So are you trying to optimize upper funnel, like you want to bring more conversions, impressions, more interest with the audience, or are you trying to fine tune the creative to bring better audience? So
True.
that's also something that is in the model and will affect eventually how creatives are scored.
Okay. And like, how does this all fit into the bigger AI, agentic AI vision that Appsflyer has?
So I'll start from the kind of the smaller creative context. So as I said, we see it as a flywheel. We see it as a machine. We basically see like the mechanism behind creatives as something that is powered by the creative data, and eventually think about the use case where not only your creative team but also different vendors that producing creatives, all of that is streamed into one place, one solution that is our creative optimization tool, and all of them slice and dice even before they're distributed, and they are analyzed and prioritized, and you create one hub that pours that takes all the creatives into the tool, and we are the power behind the mechanism that analyzes, distributes, collects the data, creates the insights to make the next iteration. Again, a sub use case of that, like think about the creative team that produces 5 different versions of creative, gets insights from the tool, produces some more, create new iterations, see how the score changes, and now they can do some kind of pre-flight iterations to better optimize their content. So that's from the creative perspective. From the bigger perspective is, again, we are going to world of agents, right? Automations on a higher level,
Yeah.
and scale, right? So again, you want something that can be managed in automatic way. You don't want eventually to be blocked by some manual works that need to power this cycle, right? So we see it as a platform that actually takes insights, whatever they are, from any place, and acts upon it and serves as part of this automation flywheel.
So in the future you could potentially have that pushing back to the generative AI tools to iterate, produce new material, bring that back, work out what needs to be tested, and then reiterate on those, and the cycle continues.
For sure, for sure. So, as I said, not only creative teams are part of this flywheel, any other source. It can be a creative agency, it can be some kind of vendor that produces creatives at scale, it can be some kind of production ready AI engines that can produce creatives. So we are the power behind the insights for that. So again, as you said, we see a use case where you take the insights, you apply them on third-party engine like Google Veo, like Sora, whatever it is. It produces some more iterations that we still score. And again, so we give the insight to the creative team. They can use it in their next versions. So everything here is a flywheel.
Really cool. Thank you so much for joining me in my little product pod today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes in the future.
Thank you for hosting me today, Adam. Thank you.